Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Entitled Parents Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe and click on notifications so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, we have an entitled Karen and her 2 kids versus ROP and his 50 kids. Now, fight to the death! Let's jump right in. I used to work as a volunteer with a youth organization with kids aged 13 to 18. My organization organized for a camp in Scotland, and we had to get there using public transport, and I was in charge of getting 50 kids there with the support of 3 other adults. After lugging very large rucksacks and suitcases through London on public transport, making sure we didn't lose anyone, we finally got to the station where we would catch a train that would take us about 7.5 hours to get to our destination. We managed to get on the train where we had prepaid reserved seat tickets. So far so good, except when it came to actually getting our seats. Because it was a large group, before we got on the train, there were a lot of seats empty with the same booking name on all the seats, so I can forgive people for thinking there was an error and those seats were in fact free. Most people were polite enough to get out of their seats immediately and let us sit in the seats that we had paid for without causing a fuss. And then there was Karen, her husband and her 2 10-year-old kids. I said, "Excuse me, we have these seats reserved, do you mind if we take them please?" Being extra polite and forcing a smile, even though by this point I am already exhausted and fuming as to why they didn't take the hint at everyone else moving and letting my party sit down. "No, we are sitting here," she replied. "I can see that, but we paid for these seats. This is my name on the ticket, not yours, so please, can you move? My patience is wearing thin and that forced smile is slowly turning to gritted teeth." "You can find somewhere else in the train to sit. We are sitting here together as a family," she said. I explained to her that I have to look after 50 kids, and I'm not going to run up and down a train just to keep tabs on them all, and if she expected me to find another seat, then she could easily get up and do the same. "I have 2 young children, and I have a 2-hour train journey all the way to Blanktown, so I'm not getting up." And that's when I lost it. She was preventing us from sitting down, loads of kids still standing in the aisle of the train with massive rucksacks because they had no seats and nowhere to put them. People who had politely vacated their seats standing and can't pass as this one family had forced us to be stuck in this carriage with nowhere to go. So in a very angry and stern voice, leaned forward and said, "Oh, apologies. I didn't realize you were sitting with 2 kids and had a 2-hour journey. But I have 50 kids and a 7-hour journey, and you are sitting in seats that we have paid for. So I guess I win, so get up and move now." Turn to a few of the kids in my group and say to them calmly, "This lady was just leaving. You guys sit here when she is gone." She hesitantly left her seat, complaining to her husband, looking for his support, but all he managed were some half-hearted statements pretending to support her. She had to also walk through the dirty looks of all the kids still waiting to get to their seats, the other passengers who were blocked in by her refusal to move, and the train conductor who had come to see what all the fuss was about. I hope she had to stand for the rest of her journey. Story 2 shows us an entitled mother telling a lifeguard he doesn't know what he is doing because her child can swim. No safety first here. Being a lifeguard is full of dealing with people that you wouldn't trust with a bathtub full of water in any amount. Somehow, people feel entitled to the water or forget common sense is something we all have but seem deficient in. Anyways, I had to deal with a Karen and her brat who both thought he was Michael Phelps in water when he looked like a drowning chihuahua with a human form. The woman couldn't be more than 30 years old with her 6 to 8-year-old boy during family swim, a time block in which families are allowed to hang out together while one lap swim lane was usually open. This meant a giant pool with lenient parents and crazy kids coming in and out while the more sensible ones usually are the calmest, trying to not gather attention. I have always hated this time frame because I couldn't stand the crackhead kids that disregarded rules and put each other in harm's way. One night, Karen popped in with Tommy. All was well until that little guy went to the deep end, doggy paddle style. I have seen all swimmers from the 4-year-old fishes to the scared grown humans called adults, but this kid nearly gave me an anxiety attack seeing his head bob up and down and struggling. After the second time, I went up to him, asked him if he could swim, and he said he could because he's on the swim team, which made me want to roll my eyes back to see if I still had a brain. You see, I was also once a swim instructor, but that part of me always stayed. I knew he wasn't ready for the deep end yet. Anyone could see as he clung to the side of the pool, swam like a dog, and had no breathing control, with his head tilted up, giving little gasps and grunts as he moved slowly forward. As a responsible lifeguard, I asked him to stay in the shallow end, 5 feet and less, but he disagreed, and I told him more firmly that he needed to go because he wasn't a strong enough swimmer and it was much safer, even if he was on the swim team and had pool noodles with him. He got upset because he thought I was being mean, which I was about to be soon because I knew there was most likely a mama bear that was going to side with him and give me a headache. I wished that I brought my migraine pills that shift. Right on cue, Karen comes up to us and asked what the problem was. I explained and hoped she was reasonable, but she told me to let it go in a demanding tone. Tommy is on the swim team. He can swim. I wanted to take the closest pool noodle and strangle her. I smiled politely. Ma'am, I believe you, but he is showing classic signs of a weak swimmer that put him in risk of drowning in this deeper side of the pool. It would be best if he went to the shallow end to ensure his safety. He's fine! I took a deep breath and reminded myself that the check was important for school. Then he wouldn't mind taking a swim test, I asked. I didn't hide my emotions. I was done with the situation, but wouldn't blow my top and let them win. She shrugged. He'll pass. Great. Can you do a swim test for me? I asked Tommy. He nodded. I had him perform the test and he did decently, but the treading part was a different ballgame. He was practically floating on his back even when his mom and I explained it to him. He disregarded it and told me, "See, I can swim." No, you really can't. Your muscles aren't used to being used for such a long period of time. You literally started drowning not even 10 seconds in, so that your mom was even scared until you floated on your back. Even when she saw his epic failure and running the treading part 3 times, Karen demanded I let the issue go and leave her son in peace. I advised her one last time that it was best if he was in shallow water until I gave up and decided that I mostly did the minimum of flips that I was legally able to do, not wanting to make a scene an hour before I had to lock up and go home. The audacity of this woman was that she complained about me to another patron about racism or whatever, as I repeatedly had a scare with Tommy every 10 minutes until I nearly lost it and demanded he go to the shallow end, prompting his mom to say they were leaving. "I'm leaving a complaint," she whined. I didn't care. I'm one of the best and most reliable employees. The boss wouldn't trade me in or fire me. He'd only just asked what went down and usually dismissed complaints that were unwarranted. He could even check the camera footage. She left with the kid and I was left with one of my favorite polite families enjoying the rest of my shift. Then I went home to relax and do some homework over spring break. Well, I've got to give Karen credit for one thing. She's not an overprotective mother. In story 3, we have an entitled mother losing her mind during the quarantine. Some backstory. I live at home with my family, and while I'd be happy to stay indoors during quarantine, they insist I have to go outside for an hour a day while maintaining social distancing. I'm pretty lazy, so what I usually do is I walk to the nearby high school. It's absolutely huge, and I climb on the roof and just sit there listening to podcasts and playing mobile games. The part of the roof I usually sit on is a little ledge overlooking the parking lot and adjacent basketball court. It's only about a 6-foot drop onto some stairs, not even a proper roof. So today I was sitting on the ledge listening to Taz and playing Plague Inc. when I see a family ride in on their bikes in the parking lot. I figure they're just getting exercise in, same as me. There's two kids, each young, elementary school age, on little kid bikes, and a mom, entitled mom, not on a bike, watching them, supervising, I guess. So of course, since it's super intriguing when someone's on a roof, the little kids start pointing at me and waving, and of course I wave back and smile. Then I look back at my phone and get back to my game. Later, I hear entitled mom shouting. I only ever have one earbud in case there's an emergency. It's a habit. I figure she's shouting at her kids, but then realize she's saying, "Hey you! Hey you on the roof!" I take out my remaining earbud and I say, "Yeah? What's up?" She proceeds to tell me that I should come down this instant, that I'm distracting and influencing her children to do bad things, and that climbing the roof is against the rules. She was technically right about the against the rules thing, but the school's been closed for months and I'm not endangering anybody, except myself kinda, but I know my way around the rooftop. So I politely explained that I'm completely capable and safe, and that her children are free to ask me any questions. She repeats her previous points, only now adding that I'm a stupid teenager and that I'm just doing this for attention. I say that the effect I may have passingly affecting her young children's curiosity is not really my problem, and that she should just explain why they're too young to climb the roof instead of yelling at me about it. At this point, entitled mom is just red in the face. Her kids aren't even paying attention anymore, riding in circles on their bikes again. She continues yelling at me, and I try not to engage. She says I'm harassing and assaulting them by refusing to listen to her and refusing to get down. Entitled mom has gone full Karen at this point, just screaming about how I'm ruining their time out of the house and that I'm a witch and I should be more considerate of people who have it worse than I do. The section of the roof I'm on has a staircase that leads up to it, and then a 6-foot block that I hoisted myself up onto and was sitting on. Entitled mom walks up the stairs and starts trying to hoist herself up the 6-foot block. She doesn't use the railing I use to help myself up, probably because it overlooks a 30-foot drop. The stairs bring you to the roof ledge on one side, but on the other side there's quite a long drop to the pavement, which she seems to be avoiding at all costs. She continually does a running jump at the edge of the ledge and every single time can't pull up her body weight. She continues this for about 2 minutes while saying things like, "I try to create a safe and secure environment for my children, and you are threatening us by being up there. You need to get down right now." I, of course, am still saying nothing, kinda just watching amused at this point, cause like, what's she gonna do, throw me off the side? After a while, she gives up and angrily goes back to her kids who are still riding in circles on their bikes. She turns, says she's reporting me to the police, and takes her 2 kids and leaves the parking lot. I followed them with my eyes, and she never once put the phone up to her ear. She might have called later, but there's been nothing about it. If she did call, they probably told her she was overreacting. I hope so, at least, or my little rooftop social distancing sanctuary will be more ruined than it already is. I don't know if the children were encouraged to climb roofs, but I do know they learned a lesson that day, which is if you don't get your way, go crazy and try to attack somebody physically to make them do your bidding. This has been John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.